Hey guys, it's EJ with Blockpad, and today I want to talk to you about a relatively simple feature, but one that I find incredibly useful and one that I think sets Blockpad apart from other programs like Mathcad and Excel, and that is our show steps feature. So here in front of us, we've got this relatively complex equation for FCR with the show steps feature on so that we see all of these named values plugged in as their actual values in the equation before we get the result. So you probably intuitively feel why this is such a great feature. It really gives you a look at what Blockpad's doing behind the scenes with all of these values, and it helps you to understand the equation itself by seeing what kind of units the different values have and what's going on. I'll also point out that it can help you to catch mistakes that you might make. So, for example, let's say I'm a little fat-fingered and accidentally add an extra 7 to that value. So going through the document, I'll see that the value for FCR is a lot lower than what I would have expected. And examining the show steps, I'd be able to notice that my value for LB is a lot higher than I would have thought it was. So then going back to the original documents, I can see, oh, LB is meant to be 17.5, not almost 200 feet. So I can make that fix, and then I've got a value for FCR that's much more in line with what I'd expect. So this is an incredibly useful feature. Let's take a look at how to do it and some finer details. So here I've just got some simple examples. I'm going to click this value, go to Properties, and change Show Steps to Reference Values. And that's going to show me that equation with the values plugged in. And that's all you need to do. Now, if you want this for every equation in your document, you can use style rules, and I'll put a link to that in the description. You might have noticed that there were some other options, so I'll click here, Show Steps, and click More Options. I'm going to turn all of these on, reference values, unit conversions, and function results. Click OK. Now, that's a little cluttered, so I'm going to go to this different option and change separate lines to yes. So with that, I have all of those different show steps on separate lines. The first line is reference values. The second line has the function results shown. So the result of that square root function is shown in line with the others. And then the next step, we have that final result with the unit conversion. And that's showing up because at the end here, I have this 2 mm conversion. So that's showing behind the scenes how Blockpad's going from feet to millimeters. And then at the bottom there, I've got my result. In addition to show steps, you'll see options to show formula, show name, and show result. And you can turn these on or off in any combination. So I've got a handful of different combinations here, including steps and the result, or just showing the result, or not showing the result at all, just the name and the calculation. And I want to point out that for all of these, you can still reference and use these values like normal. They're still being defined. They're still just regular old equations. You're just changing how they're displayed. And this can be a really useful way to format your equations in your document so that things can become more readable. As a simple example, I've got this AISC example. And as part of it, I want to test if this ratio is greater than 0.75, and then use text to say whether or not table assumptions are valid based on that ratio. However, having all of these names in this display for this if function clutter things up a little bit. So I'm going to show you what you can do with hiding different parts of the equation. So I'll select this and change show name to no. And I'll select this, change show name to no, and show formula to no. So that way I just see the result text. And now with the extra space, I can backspace onto a new line. And now this is a lot more readable and displays the intent of the calculations a lot better. I just see my comparison here, see that it's false, and then I see the consequences of that false check. So you can see how hiding and showing parts of those equations can be useful in a real scenario. And that's all I've got for you guys today. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Thank you.